Thomas here with Much Props, going to give you another how-to video. Today we are taking a dollar store found item and converting it into something cosplay worthy, I guess. I was looking through the dollar store for some poster board and just kind of perusing through their wares and came upon a round canvas and thought, I can make a shield out of that. It's already in the right shape. I just got to add stuff to it. I recently got some of the new FX from Plaid and thought I would give it a try on this build. So you're going to see me using these new paints. It's not out for sale just yet as of this video, but they will be out pretty soon. That's one of the benefits of being an ambassador for Plaid. So I'm going to give you my honest opinion about it, tell you what I think about it, and build something cool. I'm also going to use some WTF, neither of which are sponsors, just materials and things that I use from time to time. Yeah. So today we are going to build a shield out of a dollar store round painting. Let's get to building. I've noticed that the longer I do this, the better I'm getting at picking out things to use in future builds. The trick is to look for basic shapes and how you can combine things to it to make items into something different. I start by removing the paper backing on the canvas, pull off any loose staples, and remove the hanging brackets. Using some 6mm WTF EVA from Cosplay Apprentice to add a little raised edge on my shield. To get a relatively even edge, I place my marker in this circle drawing ruler I found and work my way slowly around the edge. Then I cut it out and super glue it onto the canvas. A lot of these old round shields had bosses or umbo, a piece of metal in the middle of the shield that was usually a round kind of dome. I'm using a rounded cylinder version of this. It's just a Tupperware container that I found also at the dollar store. Add a ring of foam around it to give room for faux rivets and to help better secure it to my shield. I looked at a lot of different shield designs and really liked the medieval simplicity. Vikings and Romans and several other groups had similar shields, so I chose to not add any markings that would limit it to a specific era or a specific group. Instead, I chose to add some strips of 2mm EVA and an overlapping pattern to add some interest to the front. I also added this banding on the edge and the back of the frame so that I could add some battle damage to it later. I just used my stone bit on my Dremel to randomly scratch in battle damage and to rough up some of the smooth edges. Instead of using googly eyes and making my shield into a weird rattle or carving out tons of EVA dowels into faux rivets, I decided to use these faux gems. I figured after I painted it, they would probably look a little bit like hammered rivets. Worked pretty well. I thought about just using the end of a sanding drum, but then I didn't really think that recessed rivets were a thing back then. Maybe I'm wrong. Since I had several types of materials, I decided to use Rust-Oleum hammered spray paint instead of my usual Plasti Dip. I did about 3 or 4 coats of this stuff. To prevent my metal areas from getting my blue paint, I went ahead and taped off everything with some painter's tape. Plaid sent me some samples of their FX paint and I wanted to give them a try. Some of their paints are a bit runny and take several coats to get the desired coverage. This FX paint is the real deal. I got awesome coverage with my first layer and seems to bond really well to my materials. There are smooth satin, armor metal, glitter, glow in the dark, and even neon variants to these paints. To make my paint seem like it was faded and less uniform, I went over the top of the dark blue while it was still partially wet with some lighter blue and kind of faded my way into the center. Then I used some brown and black after my blue dried to dirty it all up. This also helps to cover up any spots that I accidentally got blue on. Dab away most of it with a paper towel and leave it heavier on the edges. I even went back a little bit with a small brush and hit the corners up just a little bit more too. Now I'm going to use some of the armor metal to dry brush on an aged metal look. They have some really cool color names. This dark silver is called Samurai Sword. How legit is that? I also used a lighter silver, which is called Chainmail. Just add layers until you get the desired variance that you want. To hit the strip banding, I tape my bristles to keep them close and more controllable. Then last is to add some strapping, and I realized that most of the shields with these bosses would have a handle on the backside where it indents in. Mine obviously doesn't have that because it's a Tupperware container glued on the front. So I decided just to go with some straps. I'm always looking for belts at thrift stores for this exact application. That touch of real material just adds to selling the illusion of authenticity. Leather punch holes, and with a washer on each screw, I just screw it down into place. The rim on the inside of the painting is MDF. And we are finished. Here is the end result. Overall, I am very pleased with the way it turned out. Not too bad for my dollar store painting that I found. I believe at the one I got it from, it was like $7 and something cents. So definitely cheap for what I got from it. But yeah, the Plaid Effects paints that are going to come out soon, much higher quality than the other plaid paints that they have out, the folk art and the apple barrel. It is definitely built for cosplay and that sort of thing. So looked forward to seeing some more painting builds using their new FX paint. So yeah, maybe you'll try and make a shield like this yourself and impress your friends with what looks like you building a shield from scratch and is actually something you bought from the dollar store and converted it into something that looks super cool. Maybe you'll get some.
Yay!
And inevitably, they're going to ask you, how'd you make that? You can give them one of these. Tell them, much props. You know, a good shield can also be an offensive weapon, so.